I stood frozen, water dripping from my skin, the bathroom tiles cold under my feet. Oliver's eyes, wide with shock, locked onto mine as the door swung shut behind him. My heart thundered. What had my best friend just seen, and why wasn't he looking away? It was a humid summer evening in Willow Creek, a sleepy town in upstate New York where everyone knew your business before you did. I was 24, freshly graduated, and crashing in my parents' house while figuring out life. Oliver, my straight-as-an-arrow best friend since high school, had been my rock through every awkward phase, every heartbreak, every moment I doubted myself. He was the guy who'd punch a bully for me in 10th grade, then laugh it off over milkshakes at Daisy's Diner. But now, in this split second, something shifted. The air crackled with a tension I'd never felt before. I grabbed a towel, fumbling to cover myself, my cheeks burning. "Dude, not much." I snapped, trying to play it cool, but my voice cracked like a teenager's. Oliver didn't laugh, didn't make a crude joke like he usually would. Instead, he stepped closer, his sneakers squeaking on the wet floor. His blonde hair caught the dim light, and his blue eyes, usually so carefree, held something heavy, something raw. "Evan," he said, his voice low, "we need to talk." I'd known I was gay since I was 15, sneaking glances at guys in the locker room while pretending to check my phone. Coming out in Willow Creek wasn't exactly a parade of rainbows. My parents were supportive, but the town? Let's just say the whispers followed me like shadows. Oliver, though, never cared. He'd shrug off the gossip, call me his brother, and challenge anyone who dared say a word. But he was straight, painfully, obviously straight. The kind of guy who dated cheerleaders and charmed every mom in town. So why was he looking at me like that now? He sat on the edge of the bathtub, his hands clasped tightly. "I didn't mean to walk in," he started, but his words faltered. "It's just seeing you like that, it hit me." My pulse raced. Hit him how? I wanted to ask, but my throat felt like sandpaper. Instead, I tightened the towel around my waist and sat on a closed toilet lid, our knees almost touching in the cramped space. The silence stretched, heavy with unspoken questions. "Evan, I've been thinking about you," he said finally, his voice barely above a whisper. "Not just as a friend. It's more." My world tilted. Oliver, the guy who'd spent from slow dancing with Sarah Jenkins, was saying this to me? I laughed nervously, thinking it was a prank, but his face was deadly serious. "Don't mess with me, man," I said, my voice shaking. "This isn't funny." "I'm not joking," he replied, leaning forward. His hand reached out, hesitating, then rested on my knee. The touch sent a jolt through me, like lightning striking dry grass. "I don't know what this means," he admitted, "but I can't stop thinking about you. About us." I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to. But doubt clawed at me. Was this pity? Curiosity? Some straight guy experiment? I'd spent years burying my feelings for Oliver, convincing myself they were one-sided, impossible. Now here he was, tearing down every wall I'd built. "You're straight," I said, almost accusingly. "You've always been straight." He flinched, but his hand stayed on my knee. "I thought so too," he said. "But lately I don't know. I see you, and it's like everything I thought I knew doesn't fit anymore." His eyes searched mine, pleading for something, understanding, maybe, or forgiveness for crossing a line we'd never dared to touch. The bathroom felt too small, the air too thick. I stood, needing space, and paced to the sink. My reflection stared back, wide-eyed and terrified. "Ollie, this could ruin everything," I said, my voice cracking. "Our friendship, your life here, everything." Willow Creek wasn't kind to people who strayed from the norm. I'd learned that the hard way. He stood too, closing the distance between us. "I don't care about that," he said, his voice fierce. "I care about you." Before I could respond, he cupped my face in his hands, his touch warm and steady. Then, slowly, like he was testing the waters of a forbidden sea, he kissed me. It was soft at first, tentative, like he was afraid I'd pull away. But I didn't. I couldn't. Years of longing poured out, and I kissed him back, my hands gripping his shirt like he might vanish. The towel slipped, but I didn't care. For that moment, it was just us, two kids from Willow Creek, rewriting everything we thought we knew. When we pulled apart, breathless, reality crashed in. "What now?" I whispered. Oliver's jaw tightened, but his eyes didn't waver. "We figured out," he said. "Together." That night, I lay awake, replaying the kiss, his words, the way his hand felt on my skin. Oliver had always been my safe place, but now he was something else, something dangerous and beautiful. I didn't know if this was love or madness, but one thing was clear: nothing would ever be the same. The next morning, Willow Creek buzzed with its usual rhythm. Kids on bikes, the diner's neon sign flickering, the lake shimmering under a hazy sun. But inside me, a storm raged. Oliver's kiss had cracked open a door I'd kept locked for years, and now I couldn't stop seeing him everywhere, in the sunlight on my bedroom wall, in the steam from my coffee mug, in the ache in my chest. We met at Daisy's Diner, our usual spot, but nothing felt usual. He slid into the booth across from me, his baseball cap pulled low, his fingers tapping nervously on the table. "You okay?" he asked, his voice soft, like he was afraid I'd bolt. I wasn't okay. I was terrified. Last night had felt like a dream, but now, in the harsh light of day, the weight of it pressed down. "What are we doing?" "I don't know," I admitted, stirring my coffee just to have something to do with my hands. "You're you, and I'm me. This town doesn't exactly roll out the red carpet for guys like us." His jaw tightened, and I saw a flicker of something, anger, maybe, or defiance. "Screw this town," he said, leaning forward. "I meant what I said last night, Evan. I'm not backing down." His words lit a spark in me, but doubt lingered. Oliver had always been fearless, the guy who'd jump into the lake on a dare or talk his way out of trouble with a grin. But this was different. This was us against a world that didn't always understand. I wanted to believe in his courage, but I'd seen what Willow Creek did to people who didn't fit its mold. There was a reason I'd kept my feelings buried. The waitress, Cindy, sauntered over, her notepad ready. "You boys behaving?" she teased, oblivious to the tension. Oliver flashed his usual charm, ordering pancakes like nothing had changed. But when she left, his hand slid across the table, brushing mine. It was subtle, hidden by the ketchup bottle, but it sent my heart into overdrive. "We'll be careful," he whispered. "But I'm not hiding how I feel." Careful. That word became our mantra. Over the next few weeks, we stole moments. A brush of hands behind the hardware store, a late-night drive to the edge of town where no one would see us. Each touch, each glance, felt like a rebellion against Willow Creek's prying eyes. But it wasn't enough. I wanted more than secrets. I wanted to hold his hand in public, to kiss him without fear, to be us without apologies. One night, we drove to the lake, parking under the willows where the town's lights couldn't reach. The air was thick with summer heat, crickets humming in the distance. Oliver leaned against the hood of his truck, his silhouette sharp against the moonlight. "I've been reading," he said, almost shyly. "Online forums, stories about guys like us. It's confusing, but it feels right." I stared at him, stunned. Oliver, the guy who barely read the back of a cereal box, was researching? For me? For us? "What did you find?" I asked, sitting beside him. He shrugged, his shoulder brushing mine. That it's okay to not have all the answers. That maybe I'm not as straight as I thought. And that I think I love you. The words hit like a tidal wave. I dreamed of hearing them, but now they felt too big, too real. "Ollie," I said, my voice breaking, "you don't know what you're signing up for. This town, your family, they'll tear you apart." His parents were pillars of Willow Creek, devout and traditional. I could already hear the sermons, the whispers. "I don't care," he said, turning to face me. His hand found mine, lacing our fingers together. "I've never felt like this before. You make me feel alive." He kissed me then, fierce and desperate, like he was trying to prove something to the stars above us. I kissed him back, losing myself in the warmth of him, the taste of possibility. But possibility came with a price. The next day, I overheard two guys at the gas station, their voices low but sharp. "Saw Oliver's truck out by the lake last night," one said. "With that Evan kid." "You think?" The other laughed, a cruel edge to it. Hope not. His dad would have a heart attack. My stomach churned. We weren't as careful as we thought. That night, I confronted Oliver at his place, a modest ranch house on the edge of town. He was in his garage, tinkering with his truck, grease smudged on his cheek. "People are talking," I said, my voice tight. "We need to be smarter." He set down his wrench, his eyes narrowing. "Let them talk," he said. "I'm not ashamed of you." But I was ashamed, not of him, but of the fear gnawing at me. I'd spent years building walls to protect myself, and now they were crumbling. "This isn't just about us," I said. "Your family, your job. What happens when they find out?" He stepped closer, his hands on my shoulders. "We'll face it together," he said. "I'm not losing you." His conviction was a lifeline, but I couldn't shake the feeling that we were standing on the edge of a cliff, one wrong step away from falling. Summer bled into fall, and Willow Creek donned its autumn colors, reds and golds that made the town feel deceptively warm. But the chill between Oliver and me grew, not because we wanted it, but because the world wouldn't let us forget where we were. Every stolen kiss, every whispered promise came with a shadow of fear. We were playing a dangerous game, and the stakes were climbing. One evening, we were at the old drive-in theater, a relic on the outskirts of town. The screen flickered with some black and white classic, but we weren't watching. In the back of Oliver's truck, under a pile of blankets, we were tangled together, our breaths mingling in the crisp air. "I want to tell people," he murmured against my neck. "I want them to know you're mine." The words thrilled and terrified me. "Ollie, we can't," I said, pulling back. "Your dad's already suspicious." Mr. Harper, Oliver's father, was a deacon at the local church, a man whose handshake could crush bones and whose glare could silence a room. Lately, he'd been asking Oliver pointed questions, where he was going, who he was with. I could feel the noose tightening. "He'll come around," Oliver said, but his voice lacked conviction. I didn't argue. I just kissed him, hoping to drown out the doubt. But doubt was louder than ever. The next day, I found a note slipped under my door. "Fags don't belong here. Leave." No signature, just jagged handwriting and a knot in my gut. I didn't tell Oliver. I didn't want to scare him. But I started locking my windows at night. Weeks passed, and the tension built like a storm cloud. Oliver was different, edgier, like he was carrying a weight he wouldn't share. One night, he showed up at my place, his eyes red-rimmed. "My dad knows," he said, his voice hollow. "He saw us at the lake last week. He's pissed." My heart sank. "What did he say?" I asked, dreading the answer. Oliver paced my tiny living room, his hands in his hair. "He called me a disappointment. Said I'm throwing my life away. He wants me to stop seeing you." Each word was a knife, carving away the hope we'd built. "What did you say?" I whispered. "I told him I love you," he said, stopping to face me. "I told him I'm not giving you up." My chest ached with pride and fear. I pulled him into a hug, feeling his heart race against mine. "You're insane," I said, half laughing, half crying. "You're going to lose everything." "Not you," he said fiercely. "Never you." But his bravery came at a cost. The next day, his dad cut him off. No job at the family hardware store, no access to the truck. Oliver was crashing on my couch, his life unraveling because of me. Guilt gnawed at me, but he wouldn't hear it. "This is my choice," he insisted. "You're worth it." Willow Creek's gossip mill churned faster. At the diner, Cindy's smiles turned cold. At the gas station, guys I'd known since childhood avoided my eyes. One night, someone slashed my tires. I didn't need a note to know why. Oliver was furious, ready to confront the whole town, but I begged him to let it go. "We can't fight everyone," I said. "Maybe we should leave." "Leave?" He looked at me like I'd slapped him. "This is our home." But it didn't feel like home anymore. It felt like a cage. We started talking about moving, maybe to Albany, maybe further. Somewhere we could be us without looking over our shoulders. But leaving meant abandoning everything we'd known, and the thought made my chest tight. One crisp October night, we went back to the lake, our sanctuary. The water was still, reflecting a sky full of stars. Oliver pulled me close, his breath warm against my cheek. I'd do it all again, he said. Every fight, every loss. For you. I wanted to believe we could outrun the hate, but deep down, I knew it wasn't that simple. The next morning, I woke to a brick through my window, glass scattered across my floor. Scrawled on the brick in red paint, "Get out." Oliver's face hardened when he saw it. "This ends now," he said, grabbing his jacket. I tried to stop him, but he was already out the door, heading for the one place I feared most, his father's house. Oliver's truck roared down Main Street, the engine's growl mirroring the fury in his eyes. I chased after him, my lungs burning, but he was already at his father's house by the time I caught up. The Harper residence loomed like a fortress, all sharp angles and judgmental windows. I found Oliver in the driveway, face to face with his dad, their voices rising over the morning quiet. "You think you can scare us?" Oliver shouted, holding up the brick. "This stops now." Mr. Harper's face was a mask of rage, his fists clenched. "You brought this on yourself," he spat, "parading your sin around my town." I flinched, but Oliver didn't back down. "Evan's not a sin," he said, his voice steady. "He's the best thing in my life." I stood frozen, torn between pride and terror. Neighbors were peeking out, curtains twitching. Mr. Harper's eyes flicked to me, cold and cutting. "You've ruined my son," he said. "Get out of Willow Creek, or you'll regret it." Oliver stepped between us, his shoulders squared. "Threaten him again," he said, "and you'll regret it." The standoff ended with Mr. Harper slamming the door, but the damage was done. Word spread like wildfire. By noon, the town was buzzing. Oliver Harper, the golden boy, was one of them. At Daisy's Diner, Cindy refused to serve us. At the grocery store, a woman muttered disgusting as we passed. Oliver held my hand defiantly, but I could see the toll it was taking. His easy smile was gone, replaced by a hardness I didn't recognize. We retreated to my place, the only safe space left. "We can't stay here," I said, my voice barely steady. "They'll never let us live in peace." Oliver sank onto the couch, his head in his hands. "I thought I could fight this," he said. "I thought I could make them see." My heart broke for him, for us. I sat beside him, our thighs touching. "You tried," I said. "That's more than most would do." He looked at me, his eyes glistening. "I just wanted to love you," he said. "Is that so wrong?" I kissed him, soft and slow, tasting salt from his tears. "It's not wrong," I whispered, "but we need to protect ourselves." That night, we made a plan. Pack up, head to Albany, start over. It felt like surrender, but also like hope, a chance to build something new. The next day, we started packing. My parents, bless them, offered to help with money, but I could see the worry in their eyes. They loved me, but they knew Willow Creek's wrath. As we loaded boxes into Oliver's truck, a crowd gathered. Kids from high school, guys from the hardware store, even some church folks. They didn't say much, just watched, their silence louder than any slur. Then, out of nowhere, Sarah Jenkins stepped forward. She'd been Oliver's prom date, the girl everyone thought he'd marry. "You don't have to leave," she said, her voice shaking. "Not everyone hates you." I froze, stunned. Oliver squeezed my hand. "Thanks, Sarah," he said, "but we need to do this." She nodded, tears in her eyes, and handed us a bag of cookies from the diner. "For the road," she said. Her gesture cracked something open in me. Maybe Willow Creek wasn't all hate. Maybe there was hope, even here. But as we drove out of town, the weight of those stairs lingered. Oliver reached for my hand, his grip steady. "We're going to be okay," he said. I wanted to believe him, but the road ahead felt endless and uncertain. In Albany, we found a tiny apartment above a bookstore, the kind of place that smelled like coffee and old paper. It wasn't much, but it was ours. For the first time, we could hold hands without looking over our shoulders. We could kiss in the kitchen, dance in the living room, be us. But the scars of Willow Creek followed us. Oliver was quieter, his laughter rarer. I caught him staring out the window sometimes, like he was searching for something he'd lost. One night, as snow dusted the city, I found him on the fire escape, his breath fogging in the cold. "You ever miss it?" I asked, wrapping a blanket around us. He leaned into me, his warmth grounding me. "I miss who I was," he said, "but I'd rather be here, with you, than anywhere else." His words were a balm, but I knew we weren't done fighting. Not for love, not for peace, not for the life we deserved. Albany was a fresh start, but it wasn't a cure. The ghosts of Willow Creek clung to us. Every time Oliver flinched at a stranger's glance. Every time I woke from nightmares of bricks and slurs. But we built a life anyway, piece by piece. Oliver got a job at mechanic shop, his hands always smudged with grease but his smile slowly returning. I landed a gig at the bookstore downstairs, surrounded by stories that reminded me the world was bigger than one small town. We were careful at first, testing the waters of this new world. Holding hands on the street felt like a revolution, every kiss a victory. But freedom came with its own challenges. Oliver was still grappling with who he was, what it meant to love me in a way he'd never expected. "I don't know if I'm gay, bi, or something else," he admitted one night, his head on my chest. "All I know is I love you." "That's enough," I said, and I meant it. Labels didn't matter as much as the way he looked at me, like I was his home. We started to find our rhythm. Lazy Sundays, cooking breakfast, late nights watching old movies, moments where the world felt right. But Willow Creek wasn't done with us. One day, a letter arrived, forwarded from my parents' address. It was from Oliver's mom, her handwriting shaky but clear. "She wants to see me," Oliver said, his voice tight. "She says Dad's been thinking." I didn't trust it. Mr. Harper's words still echoed in my head, sharp as broken glass. But Oliver's eyes were pleading, searching for a piece of the family he'd lost. "I have to go," he said. "I need to know." We drove back to Willow Creek, the familiar roads stirring a mix of nostalgia and dread. The town looked the same diner, same lake, same judgmental stares. Mrs. Harper greeted us at the door, her eyes red but warm. "I've missed you," she said, pulling Oliver into a hug. Mr. Harper stood in the background, silent, his arms crossed. My stomach knotted, but Oliver held my hand, grounding me. The conversation was tense, stilted. Mrs. Harper talked about love, about faith, about wanting her son back. Mr. Harper said little, but his silence felt different, not angry, just heavy. "I don't understand it," he said finally, his voice gruff. "But you're my son." It wasn't acceptance, not fully, but it was a crack in the wall. Oliver's shoulders relaxed, just a fraction, and I saw hope flicker in his eyes. We didn't stay long. Willow Creek wasn't home anymore, but that visit gave Oliver something he'd been missing. Closure, maybe, or the start of it. On the drive back, he was quiet, but his hand never left mine. "I think they'll come around," he said. "Not today, but someday." Months turned into a year, and Albany became our sanctuary. We made friends, other couples, queer and straight, who didn't care about our past. We went to pride parades, tentative at first, then bold, our hands raised high. Oliver started calling himself bisexual, testing the word like a new pair of shoes. It fit, mostly, and that was enough. One evening, as spring bloomed around us, we walked to a park near our apartment. The air smelled of lilacs, and the sunset painted the sky in shades of pink and gold. Oliver stopped by a fountain, pulling me close. "I was scared," he said, his voice low. "That night I walked in on you, I was terrified. Not of you, but of what I felt, what it meant." I smiled, my heart full. "And now?" I asked. He kissed me, slow and sure, right there in the open. "Now," he said, "I know I'd walk through fire for you." We stood there, wrapped in each other, the world fading away. Willow Creek had tried to break us, but it had only made us stronger. Our story wasn't perfect. There were still fights, doubts, moments when the past crept in. But every time, we chose each other. We chose love over fear, truth over shame. And in that choice, we found something unbreakable, a life built not on what we'd lost, but on what we'd gained. Oliver, my straight friend who wasn't so straight, had changed everything. And I'd do it all again just to stand here with him, under a sky that finally felt like ours.